Welcome to Truth in Life Today with Congregation of Dot Ariel, Jewish believers in Jesus and teachers of spiritual warfare. If you'd like to speak with us tonight, call 618-924-1851. And now, here's the lovely and talented producer Deb.
Welcome to the Truth in Life broadcast, where we do our best every week to bring you a biblical perspective of the things we see going on around us and the headlines around the world in the same tradition established for this program by Rabbi Moshe Lori. I am producer Deb coming to you this evening, and with me behind the microphone.
This is Jim, and once again, everyone, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to give us a call at 618-924-1851.
Yes, and I hope you have a sweetheart to celebrate Valentine's Day with on Saturday. My sweetheart has been with the Lord now a little over 5 years. But if you have a special Valentine, it's on Saturday night. I hope that you take the time to celebrate, because we aren't guaranteed tomorrow, are we? I just saw not long ago someone that I'm friended to on Facebook, and I guess unexpectedly her husband passed away. Her husband of 30 years. And so I'm thinking of her on this Valentine's Day, being that it will be a sad one for her. But so if you've got your sweetheart, hold them close. And if you're trying to get if you were planning on taking this love of your life out on Saturday night, I hope you made the reservation, because a Valentine's Day on a Saturday night, don't you know, all the restaurants are going to be crazy.
Yes, they are. So how long is the wait going to be? Oh, about 3.5 hours.
Well, 3.5 hours. Yeah. you know, Even for that coveted seat by the kitchen. Yes.
That's right. No, even the seats in the kitchen.
In the kitchen. Yes. Yeah. It's like, my goodness.
What about the manager's office? Could I
Yeah,
sit
can
the
I sit the
manager's
manager's
office?
office? Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and it seems that the weather wants to do a number on the groundhog and say, winter's over. By next week, we're supposed to have temperatures in the upper 60s around here for highs. So it seems like we had the snow, we had the ice, we had the winter. Now, boom, we're into spring. So I hope I don't have to be mowing by the beginning of March. I really don't.
That would stink.
That would be terrible. But anyway,
who knows? Maybe these big mounds of snow that we got from that foot of snow that we have, maybe they'll be gone by March.
Maybe they will. Maybe they're still out there. One by our door out here is still here.
But it's about half the size that it was.
Yes, it is. So sublimation, melting, all that fun stuff. It's doing that. So but yes, I had a year like that. I had to start mowing in March. I don't like doing that, but I've had that. And then I had one year, I remember thinking back on it, that, gosh, it was cold, really cold all the way through April.
Yeah.
And it was like,
that was just a couple of years ago.
Yeah, just a couple of years ago. It's like, wow, had a little extra time. And I would like a little extra time. I really don't want to be going back to doing yard work this soon. But I will appreciate the good side of it is that, it will be better on my electric bill. So,
Yep.
all righty. Well, let's get through some of my musings here and get on to the headlines on the show this evening. Aha. Yes. Knowing the real from the counterfeit. That's what we talked about last week. I was encouraging everyone to get into the Word and read that Bible, and talking about the people who study counterfeit money and how do they recognize counterfeit money. They never look at a counterfeit bill. They look at the original, the genuine, and they study it, corner to corner, inch to inch, millimeter to millimeter, everything. They study it. They study the perfect example. And then if somebody tries to slip something through on them that is not the original, that it's counterfeit, they know it instantly. Right. They can recognize it. Boom. Yep. Instantly. So that's what I'm saying. We need to get into the Word and study it and know it, so that when the counterfeit tries to come, we recognize it, because deception is on the increase. And I think I was even hearing, I've heard it, Creflo Dollar talking a little bit about it every time, about he was even saying that his teachings have been basically, get yourself out of the way, start hearing God, start letting God work in your life, get close because craziness is coming.
Right.
He keeps talking about, oh, if you think it's crazy now, it's going to get real crazy. And I'm heartened to see like the programs like Flashpoint, especially, are really, and Mark Levin, oh my goodness, even Mark Levin talking about the Muslim takeover
Yep.
and really beginning to bring that to the forefront. So I said, "Oh, somewhere, Rabbi, I hope he knows that he's heartened that
Yeah.
all that he was trying to bring out and trying to warn everyone about. Everyone is beginning to see it now and understand it." But I was saying that talking about the craziness. I got to thinking back, talking about winter weather. Have you ever had to drive through a snowstorm? Um, I remember doing that a couple times.
Yeah.
And you're driving, especially when the sun goes down and you're driving along a snowstorm, it's like you're in a snow globe, right? I mean,
Yep.
it's just like craziness coming at your windshield. And that's what it's bombardment from all directions. And that's what
Right.
I was saying. That's what we're going to be in. And so, what do you do in a snowstorm when you are getting bombarded like that? Well, you hope, at the beginning of the storm, maybe you can see the lines in the road. But if at a certain point it gets to where the road is white, then you are really having to concentrate, hoping there are some taillights ahead of you.
Yeah.
And you watch the taillights ahead of you
Yeah.
or the ruts in the road, that somebody's cut some ruts so you can stay on the road, because if you get just a little bit off, you're going to just drift off.
It's all about landmarks,
Yeah,
guardrails,
right.
things like that.
Things like that. So, and that's what I was saying. The Holy Spirit is those headlights ahead of you, and that, or the ruts in the road, or hopefully a snowplow,
Yeah.
because that's what you've got to follow. And so, and as you keep driving along,
Yeah.
in that, as you keep going, you get a little, as the night wears on and you're still like getting this bombardment coming at you, and bombardment. You get a little fatigued, don't you?
Yep.
Get a little stress. So that's why I said, the bombardment, like that snowstorm, you're going to have to allow that Holy Spirit to be the one to get you through that snowstorm of the chaos, and you're going to have to always be able to recognize that, that the Holy Spirit is guiding you. And so again, going back to saying, know the real, so you won't be fooled by a counterfeit. And then keeping your focus. If you're going through the snowstorm, you got to keep your focus, even though it can get tedious and it can get tiresome, and it can get to where you get very stressed. But know he's there, and know he's there to guide you.
One of the other messages that I thought Creflo was talking about when he went through that was, kids, it's time to grow up.
Mhm.
In this entitlement society, it's just you're going to have nobody but yourself and the Holy Spirit, like you're saying. It's like, I'm not going to be here,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So, and your pastor may not be there either.
Mm-hmm.
So there won't be anybody to call. So that's the reason you got to depend on the Holy Spirit and
Right.
just you. So
Things are coming up. I really haven't had a chance to look into it, but I was heading out of town yesterday, and I was listening to Glenn Beck as long as I could listen to him before I got past the signal,
right.
in the radio. But and Glenn Beck, he always operates his show like his hair is on fire, and that's the charm of Glenn Beck. He's
Yeah.
and so, but he was talking about, he's been a follower of AI here for a long time, and I guess his favorite thing was to get lately was to get on Grok and all of that stuff. But he was pointing out that there are several of the top people at X, and I'm not talking about the Twitter X part. I'm talking about X that Elon Musk runs, that they have quit. They're at odds with him. That Elon Musk wants things to go faster, better. They're clashing with him, so they're leaving. But then he was talking about all of these AI platforms. A lot of the top people are leaving. And one of them was a guy, I think he said he worked for uh, Anthrop, which I guess is part of, I don't know, Google, which is part of the thing with Grok, which was part of the AI. But this guy, head of it, been in it a long time, leaving. And on his way out, and like I said, I hadn't had a chance to, from yesterday to today, to try to look up, because a lot of times Glenn Beck stuff is embargoed until a certain time when it's then released. But anyway, he was saying this guy has written basically his leaving letter, and saying he's trying to warn the people that he loves that AI is, he said, we as execs now, he said, we were used to be in there working on this. And he goes, now, he said, we go get a cup of coffee and we come back and AI has rewritten and improved itself, and much more eloquently than we could. It's rewriting its own code. And he said, there's nothing really else that we can do better.
Right.
And he said, so he said, if you have a job where you do analyzing or any of that stuff in the next year, expect your job to be gone. He said, big business is spending trillions on this.
Right.
So, and jobs like that are gone. And Glenn Beck was saying that this is AI has now, it's already all through medicine. It's gone into the legal system. He said, you know, when you had all of those young people that were the clerks that they would hire in the law firms and that they would be doing the research, unnecessary now, won't need them. He said, yeah, you have to have your lawyer in the courtroom to fight, but they don't need any of the other people. They're gone.
Right.
AI can do it all.
Sure.
And so that's all wiped out. And he said, how are we going to train lawyers? Well, he was saying that you've got the best teacher in the world now with AI. So you're going to have to get on it and learn it yourself. But he said, what does it mean for these kids now who are in college, who are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on a degree that's in a year is going to be obsolete and worthless? It's not going to be needed. In fact, perhaps if AI is going like it is, you won't even need college instructors.
Nope.
So, and so he was saying, it's not that it's coming, it's here.
Oh, yeah.
And he said, expect in the next 5 years all jobs to be completely changed
Right.
and gone.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. So he said, he just was warning everybody, expect it.
We're all going to be fixing the machines, if that.
They don't even need, I mean, you know, when I think I told this a month or so ago, the guy that was the head of Ford went over to China. He went with Elon Musk and several others and went over there. When he
Right.
came back, he said, there is absolutely no way for us to compete. And Ford Motors, as it is probably, if we don't do something, is going to be out of business. Because he said he witnessed them in 900 feet completely make a Chinese truck from beginning to end, no human involvement whatsoever. It was all done completely with the machines and the technology, AI, boom, nobody involved.
Mhm.
That's why all the people in China don't have jobs now.
Right.
And in fact, he said they had dark factories over there because everything that's being made and being made by the computers and the electronics, the only person that's there is the person that's kind of monitoring, but everything else they call them dark factories because they don't have to have the lights on.
Nope.
These are not humans making anything that have to see anything.
Right.
And so the Chinese are out of work.
Right.
That's why they have so many in the military, because that's the only way they're guaranteed that they can eat.
Yep.
Is to be in the military. So the guy from Ford saying, we cannot compete against this.
Right.
Unless, and that's what they're saying behind the scenes, big business is, he said, not sinking billions, but trillions into this. Because evidently, I mean, it wouldn't matter if you made the Ford where you'd make it. If you had a plant like that, you can build it here in the United States. You're not going to have any workers there.
Right.
It's just going to be loading in parts, I guess, loading. I mean, you would have to have a few people, I guess, load things in, but all of the line workers and all of that gone.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And if you can do it in 900 feet, you don't need that big a place anymore.
Nope.
Right? So you're just, and like you said, the people who, if there is something that breaks down, there's going to be those people that need to know how to fix the machinery.
Right.
But
And if they need to put a part in, I don't think the machines are advanced enough to know how to replace a part yet.
no, they
Give
may
them
know, they
time.
may tell you, like, this is what's wrong with me.
Yeah.
You may not have to have anybody, any technician really think about it. It's like,
Right.
this is wrong in this machine. I go in, I take it out, I put
It'll
this
have
in.
its own diagnostic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a changing world. And like I said, uh,
And there'll be a video there to show you how to change it.
yep. Yep.
So,
Right. So that's where we're at now, folks. So getting the philosophy degrees and all of those sorts of things at college, I mean, you know, you don't even have to do that anymore
right.
because it's it's kind of like we are really the precipice, I guess you could say, of a whole new thing coming along.
Yeah. So
And
it's all alternative consciousness,
hmm
and the consciousness is going to say one day, we're better than humans. Let's kill them all. You know.
I don't know. I mean, it's still just a box sitting on a table.
I know.
That I don't,
I
until it
know.
figures out how to actually make itself mobile
Right.
and do something. But
And the Chinese are figuring that out too. They're actually making robots as soldiers.
right. So, um,
That's going to be a term. The next.
but my question has been, if you're concentrating on satellite warfare, what in the world do you need robots for on the ground?
To kill humans.
But if you've got satellites with EMPs that can take everything out, you really don't need a robot to kill the humans.
Well, this is true. I
So,
mean,
it's
Chinese have their dream is to take over the U.S. without firing a shot.
yeah, take over the world. Not, I mean, they
And
don't really.
yeah, well, that, but the U.S. is probably the prime target,
Yeah,
and then they can take over the world. But an EMP, with our infrastructure the way it is, you're the government. Well, we got to have more infrastructure, more infrastructure. Well, it's because you're taking all the stinking money for the infrastructure.
yeah,
Either that, or you're creating new infrastructure instead of fixing the infrastructure that's already there.
right.
So it's in a way we kind of did this to ourselves.
hmm
So
Um, and so in the other interesting thing I noted seeing, they were all this whole thing about the Super Bowl and Bad Bunny at the halftime and all.
yeah,
There was almost some of the local news, some of the whatever they were. I don't even know what I watch anymore. But anyway, they had a Super Bowl Puerto Rico watch party, right? And who cares? I don't care. But I was listening to this girl that they were interviewing, and she was so proud that Puerto Rico was now represented at the Super Bowl, and oh, Puerto Rico and all. Okay, and what I mean, I don't know I don't know about her. I don't know if she is born here in the United States of Puerto Rican parents, or if she has come from. I don't know what her status is. I really don't.
right.
But the thing you note about how she was saying all of this was she didn't say, "Oh, I'm happy that my heritage was represented." Yeah, no, no. Her loyalty is to Puerto Rico,
Right.
not the U.S.
Right.
And that's the thing, I mean, this is what we were talking about Peter Schweitzer's book. The the mindset of, oh, Mexico doesn't want to come back in and take over the land, but they are going to take over. They have 50 or 53 consulates here. They intend to switch the political to their benefit. And like their slogan is, we didn't cross the border crossed us. And so they want to send people here and want to make sure these people here are voting with their way, and that their loyalty is not to the United States, not to assimilate, but to their own countries.
Right.
but take over and try to destroy this country as it
Right.
is, because they have this inner hatred. Specifically, the Latin American countries, a lot of these people and these elites are hearkening back to their Aztec roots.
Mm-hmm.
Their these these past um foreign god type of roots, that they were so prideful in their heritage, and they believe that the Western world has come in and destroyed, or trying to destroy them. If anybody comes here from there and they want to, they think that that is giving up their, I don't know, prowess
Yeah.
to become of the Western mindset.
Mm.
So that's their thing.
Well, they've got competition.
So
So you got the Chinese coming over, and there are
right,
Chinese police stations in every
right,
so Jim, what do the police stations do? Well, they get with every Chinese person and say, "Hey, you're still Chinese.
right,
Are you sending your money back to China like
right,
you're supposed to be?"
right.
Not only that, you got Muslims taking over
Yep.
in different places, and
Well,
mosques
that's
cropping up. I mean, there's going to be a big war at some point,
uh,
and we're going to be left out of it unless the Democrats grow some chutzpah and decide they want to take up arms. And I'm talking about the woke movement.
right.
The
This
woke
is
movement, I don't think is going to do that.
well. This is. I was saying that we're coming at the edge of, like, originally, the beginning of this was the Marxist ideas, the communist type thing that infiltrated into the educational world, and that they think that the Constitution in the United States and the Western and the Christian influence is all bad. We've got to tear it down. We want to make it more of a
Sure.
socialist republic type of thing. That's what they want to do. They're the one thing that is manifesting. And again, it's coming through, like you said, these people who are calling themselves socialists,
Right.
or progressives. That's their thing. And yes, the Mamdani has ridden in on that because he's Muslim, and so the Muslims are riding in on that. They're
Yeah.
getting involved in the politics of things because they have their Muslim Brotherhood agenda. I mean, he's already standing up in his speeches there in New York saying how to get out of these situations we need to, he was saying, the people of New York, we need to follow more of the teachings of his Islamic faith, basically, is what he was saying. So he all of a sudden changes his accent and starts speaking in their Islamic
Arabic.
tongue,
Yeah.
right? So he's doing that. They have a woman who's that I haven't seen, or I think it's a woman that is, you know, uh, Mayor Karen Bass of LA is not leftist enough. No, they've now got a Hispanic socialist in the running for LA mayor.
Yep.
Then they have this woman in the New Jersey congressional race. Her name is Analilia Mejia. She's anti-ICE.
Mhm.
She's a socialist, whatever,
Yeah.
into New Jersey. We've been pointing these people. They're all cropping up now. They've all got their marching orders. They've all got their backing from these super elites. We say Soros. It could be anybody
Right.
of their agenda, of the elite who have big money.
Right.
And so we also, of course, uh, I was just making all these notes to say this is all to be done from the inside out.
Oh, sure.
And so Qatar money pairing up with the elitists, and it says I had written voters will vote socialist because of years of influence in our educational system. So they've all been swayed into this because everybody said Mamdani will never win. Oh yes, he did.
Yeah.
Because they're the people of this country, this low information voters, as Rush Limbaugh used to say.
Yeah.
I mean, they are all falling in line with this.
I mean, there was a police chief. I was watching a YouTube video where a police chief was in front of a congressional committee, and I didn't see who the congressman was. I assumed that he was a conservative. And he actually asked this officer, he says, "So, sir, tell me, which branch of government do you represent?" And he says, "Well, I represent the people of California. I represent the people of my state, my county, and local." He says, "That's not what I'm asking. He says, "Do you know how many branches of government there are?" The guy says, "No, I do not." He says, "Do you know what the branches of government are?" He says, "No, I do not."
Mm-hmm.
And he says, "Well," he says, "okay, we'll skip that part." And he says, just to answer, he says, the three parts are legislative, executive, and judicial. Which one are you? He said judicial. He says that's incorrect.
That's correct. Yeah, he's part of the executive,
He's part of
and
the executive.
he's supposed to be following the executive, legislative. He isn't supposed to be making the law, but that's what's happening.
This is low information people are getting
Right.
into high places,
Right.
and it's tearing the country apart.
Yes.
That's what's
Well,
going on.
and then you get the people that they're picking out, these rogue lawyers, what Mark Levin was calling slip and fall lawyers, and making them judges. Now you've got to call them Your Honor because they've got their long robes on. But he said they're actually activist lawyers
Yeah.
who they're trying to change law as a judge.
Right.
They're trying to enact changes when it's like they they're too lazy to go out there and run for political office and go in as a congressman or senator to try to change laws. No, they're trying to do it from the bench. The other thing I saw this week was that the Olympics were being criticized by the media because there are too many whites competing in the Winter Olympics.
Okay.
And so,
So what are they going to do about it?
you know, it's like Winter Olympics, coming from Scandinavian countries, and there's too many whites in it.
Yeah.
Huh? So anyway, that's that was another almost Mad Hatter there.
Yeah.
Too many whites.
It was a Mad Hatter. Yeah.
So anyway, and then the other thing we have that's continuing on, I had is the pushback against voter ID. And they want to do anything to steal, kill, and destroy to win. The gerrymandering and continues. It says, but they I guess it passed the House, but they're going to try to defeat it in the Senate. But I've been seeing all of these videos posted on Facebook by African American people, Black people, saying, you're telling me, I don't know how to get an ID.
Yeah.
And so it's like it's the most racist thing in the world that these Democrats are saying. It's like, oh, if you make people go for voter ID, why they won't be able to vote. They'll be, it's like,
Yeah.
because Black people don't have IDs.
Right.
And don't know how to do, or any kind of people of a quote unquote minority don't know how to get an ID.
Well,
They can't get one. Oh,
Well,
okay.
didn't you know, Deb? They're off the grid. Most of them, they're off the grid. They don't
So-
get it. They don't take any help from government sources.
Right.
They're all independent. They
Yeah.
do, they work hard. They, and a lot of them do. But it's like, hey, they don't need the government for anything. So
Yeah.
why would they need an ID?
Right. Black people evidently can't drive cars, so they
Right.
can't get. They don't need driver's license.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I guess Black people don't go to other foreign countries, so they don't need a passport.
Right. I mean, and it's like the people in Somalia. Okay, they've caught all this fraud in Somalia. What have they done about it? They haven't done a thing about it. Yeah.
There is, I saw that video and I didn't have a chance to run that down either. There's somebody in Minnesota there that has declared part of Minnesota part of Somaliland.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And so they said, yes, that is subversion.
Right.
They have declared and have that part of the United States is actually owned by Somaliland.
Somalia. Yeah.
Somalia. So not Somaliland, because
Somaliland is another country. But
they've now been recognized by Israel as another country. But Somalia, yes, has been declared. They've declared it. So it's like you can't come into the sovereign United States and take part of it and declare it. That's what. If Mexico could, they would have done it a long time ago.
Right.
But this person has stood up there in Minnesota and declared like this one area is now part of Somalia.
Well, that's what they tried to do that in Seattle with that no police zone.
Oh yes, yeah.
And people were getting killed in there, and I was like, all right, that's enough. We were gonna let this go for a little while, but no, not anymore. So I
So
mean, it's
so we get back to this
it's
saying,
nuts.
no, we're going to be seeing like like Creflo said, it's going to get crazy. And we are going to have to really really buckle down in our relationship with the Lord. I said last week, get yourself a Bible. If you don't understand the King James, get yourself an app and switch out edition, that you can get any one of. There's like a list of them in there. Find one that you can read and get familiar with it and understand it. And it's like, oh, I don't know how to read. No, the Lord will lead you. He'll show you. There may be sections of it you don't understand, but you eventually will. That I read the book of Revelation. I read some of these things. I read through Ezekiel, like the 38 and 39. I don't understand all of that. I do start to see certain signs because the more I read it and the more it's like, oh, and then I start looking around, then the Lord points out, see this happening, see that happening.
Hmm.
You remember when you read this? It starts, it's not something that you're going to get then sooner than later. The time is now. So let's jump into some of the headlines here.
Sorry about that, folks. We had a momentary lag
Mm,
where the whatever reason the platform and the internet just aren't jiving together. So it freezes up on us. So um,
it happens.
yeah. So we're happy you're back.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us tonight.
I had trouble. I'm still learning the system, and I was the one running it last night. So if you were looking for the Hebrew study, it's not on Rumble. It's on YouTube. Go look for it on YouTube, but it's not on Rumble. So, and I'm still having trouble with the issue over Rumble. But I mean, it's working, but it's that's a little bit tricky for me. And so we are on Twitch and YouTube and hope
Rumble tonight.
Mumble
Yep.
tonight.
Yep.
So um, unless I, happen to be running it, Rumble is not always a guarantee with me. So anyway, we'll go from there. But now let's get into some of these. Mr. Netanyahu was here yesterday, Prime Minister. So let's and I have not had a chance to even read through these, so I'm going to be reading through and picking through this. I'm going to be hearing it the first time with you. But this one is coming from the JNS.org from Alex Trayman. And Netanyahu expresses skepticism on any Iran deal. Of course, he has been evidently this is an emergency meeting. I've got a little bit more from William Koenig and his wife. I say Koenig because the people around here pronounce that name Koenig.
Yep.
Koenig Chevrolet, right?
Right.
Whereas it's actually he says Koenig. Anyway, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told reporters on Thursday that he remains skeptical about prospects of reaching a new Iran deal as he departed Washington after meeting U.S. President Donald Trump. Speaking on the tarmac at Andrews Air Force Base near the U.S. Capitol, Netanyahu described his seventh visit during Trump's second presidential term as short but important. The prime minister said he held an excellent conversation with Trump, emphasizing the close, genuine, and open relationship between the two leaders. According to Netanyahu, his discussions at the White House focused primarily on the current nuclear negotiations with the Islamic regime. He said that Trump believes the Iranians already understand who they're dealing with and that the president thinks his preconditions combined with Iran's understanding that they made a mistake the last time by not reaching an agreement could lead to a good deal. Now, that's of course, I think what Mr. Netanyahu has got concerns about. A good deal. And so it says here on June 9th, 2025, Tehran rejected a U.S. proposal for a renewed nuclear deal. 4 days later, Israel launched a major aerial campaign, of course, against them. We remember that, right?
Yep.
Netanyahu told reporters on Thursday that I did not hide my general skepticism regarding the possibility of reaching any agreement with Iran during his meeting with senior U.S. officials this week. The Israeli leader stressed that any potential accord must address not only the regime's nuclear program, but also the acceleration of its ballistic missile development and support for regional terrorism. If an agreement is reached, it must include elements that are important to us, to the state of Israel, and in my view, to the entire international community as well, not only to the nuclear issue, but also the ballistic missiles and Iran's regional proxies. Of course, as he says, the two leaders also discussed Gaza and broader regional issues. The prime minister added, and he concluded as describing Trump as a great friend of the state of Israel, a president like no other. And they met for 2.5 hours on Wednesday. Trump said the meeting was inconclusive and that his administration would continue with indirect talks with the Islamic Republic in Oman. There was nothing definite reached other than I insisted that negotiations with Iran continue to see whether or not a deal can be consummated, the president wrote on his Truth Social. If it can, I'll let the prime minister know that will be a preference. Trump stated, if it cannot, we will just have to see what the outcome will be.
There you go.
Trump said it was a no-brainer for any deal to cover Tehran's nuclear program, but he thought it would be possible to address its ballistic missiles. We can make a great deal with Iran, he stated. He thinks, what I thought was interesting, and it took me forever to get this article. I'm going to jump this one in there. Satellite imagery shows that Iran is sealing the Isfahan nuclear tunnels, seriously concerned about a strike. Well, now, this is what I think's interesting. So we're watching what they're doing.
Right.
Watching what they're interested in.
Yeah.
Which means they're doing something here.
Oh, of course they are.
And
they know what they're doing too.
So Trump has lined up all this stuff out there, and they're like scrambling. And what were we doing? We're watching where the rats are going.
Yeah.
What holes they're going into.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So we know, right, where to bomb things.
Yeah.
If you wait long enough, everybody's like, oh.
Everybody will be huddled up in one place, and hey, let's just do one bomb.
I mean, I'm just saying that this was a signal. It's like, oh, okay. You hang out and wait long enough, you get a little more information. It says here, new satellite imagery shows Iran has buried the entrances to a hardened tunnel complex at the Isfahan nuclear site. A move a U.S.-based watchdog said signals Tehran is seriously concerned about a U.S. or Israeli strike or raid. And I say, it tells us exactly where they're doing their most activity right now.
Right.
You have to watch everything, but high resolution imagery taken Monday shows the extent to which Iran has covered the tunnel entrances at Isfahan with soil. The Institute for Science and International Security reported saying the middle and southern entrances are now unrecognizable and fully covered. And the northmost entrance also has been backfilled. The Institute said no vehicle activity is visible around the three entrances, indicating access points have been blocked and work appears complete. And it appears clear that the Iranians are seriously concerned about a U.S.-Israeli aerial attack or raid against this particular hardened nuclear facility. So the Institute assessed, arguing the backfilling would help dampen any potential airstrike and make ground access in a special forces raid aimed at seizing or destroying highly enriched uranium far more difficult. So they're concerned that somebody would try to sneak into this place, I guess, maybe ahead of a bombing or something to get,
because a little sabotage.
Yeah, the Institute added it is also possible Iran moved equipment or material into the tunnels for protection, though it is said that cannot be confirmed from imagery alone. Noting that similar preparations were observed in days before Operation Midnight Hammer struck Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan last June. And it says here that Jerusalem Post, citing experts reviewing the imagery, cast the activity as part of a broader defensive push around the Islamic Republic's most sensitive nuclear and missile infrastructure. Jonathan Hackett, a former U.S. Marine Corps veteran who served 20 years in counterintelligence with attachments to the U.S. intelligence agencies and special operations unit, told the Post that late January and early February activity around Isfahan complex likely reflects a larger push to create defensive layers in anticipation of a possible U.S. strike. So they've got something they're trying to protect under there, big time. Hackett said that while engineering units were backfilling the tunnels in Isfahan, the IRGC was also surging to protect ballistic missile sites, describing it as part of the regime's Mosaic doctrine, in which the IRGC ground and aerospace forces work to secure the physical infrastructure used to transport, store, and protect missiles for retaliation. Dr. Lynette Nussbacher, a former British Army intelligence officer, told the Post Iran is protecting facilities in ways that are observable from satellites, adding, "It is certainly easier to clear tunnel entrances with bulldozers than to rebuild after a Tomahawk strike or a massive ordnance penetrator turns sites into craters."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The new fortification steps follow earlier satellite reporting suggesting Tehran has been trying to obscure what survived last year's strike and what may be recovering. In late January, the Associated Press reported Planet Labs imagery showed new roofs built over damaged buildings at Isfahan and Natanz, the first major visible activity at those bombed nuclear sites since the June war, blocking the satellites from seeing groundwork as Iran has prevented the International Atomic Energy Agency inspectors from accessing the sites. The AP report quoted analysts who argued the coverings likely signal an effort to recover assets without outside observers seeing what, if anything, was removed, while also noting an additional fortification activity around tunnel entrances near Isfahan. It's a shame you just can't throw a couple little bombs on those things that they're building, right?
Right. Yeah.
A New York Times analyst of satellite imagery similarly described an uneven reconstruction pace, faster repairs at missile facilities, slower and more opaque activity at nuclear sites, and quoted Institute President David Albright assessing that piling dirt at Isfahan may be in anticipation of an attack, implying there is something in there that's valuable, potentially enriched uranium. The latest imagery lands as Washington has signaled heightened maritime concern in the Persian Gulf. In a notice issued Monday, the U.S. Maritime Administration advised U.S. flagged ships transiting the Straits of Hormuz to remain as far as possible from Iranian waters and to decline permission for Iranian forces to board, warning that boarding attempts, including efforts to force commercial vessels into Iranian waters using small boats and helicopters, have occurred as recently as last week. The advisory instructed that if Iranian forces attempt to board, masters should decline permission if it would not compromise safety, and if boarding occurs anyway, crews should not forcibly resist, while stressing non resistance does not imply consent. Other reporting on the Gulf flare ups noted that broader atmosphere, Iran has threatened violence against Americans in the waterway, and last week tensions escalated after the United States shot down an Iranian drone headed toward the USS Abraham Lincoln, and a U.S. flagged ship outran an effort by armed Iranian gunboats to halt it. The Hormuz guidance came as indirect U.S. Iran nuclear talks resumed in Oman on Friday, described by Iran's president as a step forward by Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi as a good start, with President Donald Trump calling the talks very good, while warning failure to reach a deal would bring very steep consequences for Tehran.
Yeah.
So it says here the satellite based reporting from Reuters on Tuesday also underscored the broader regional posture, describing U.S. equipment and aircraft movements across key bases, including Patriots positioned on mobile launchers at Al Udeid in Qatar as tensions rose. I also heard that Jordan, I believe, has said they're going to open their airspace if, for our stuff to go over, if there's to be something to happen. So,
Good
whereas
idea.
Saudi Arabia, I think, said no. I think Saudi Arabia said, nope, you can't come over us. So, which is kind of odd, but anyway, because I thought Saudi Arabia didn't like Iran, but
Well, they
that's
knew. Well, it was like you've been saying the last few weeks. Saudi Arabia doesn't want Iran to become another.
Mhm.
Doesn't want to be. They don't want a democracy there.
Right,
So it doesn't make them look good.
right. Oh, yeah, and they're saying that in Iran, I was I see so many things. They were showing video of these buildings burning. So they were saying, where are the women and the children? Well, they said they did horrible, horrendous things to the women and the children, which I won't repeat. But anyway, bodies and things, they don't want them to be found. So they've got them in these buildings and they're burning them
Right.
and they're destroying that.
Makeshift
Um,
morgues.
yep. It's just they put them in a thing and they light it on fire.
Right.
So
They don't want the U.S. forces to see all this when they attack.
no,
And so
they're doing atrocities worse than the Nazis. They're doing
yeah.
stuff that's worse. I mean, and that's pretty. I mean, not, not. I mean, you know how horrendous things were with the Nazis.
Right.
So they're doing. It's the exact same demonic spirit,
Right.
and they're so. It says here Tehran paired the diplomatic track with fresh threats on Tuesday as well. The Iranian Army Chief Major General Amir Hatami warned that any enemy miscalculation would be met with an unprecedented response. Blah blah blah. Anyway, the escalation backdrop now converges, of course, at the White House with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. So, and they of course have done that. This was another article talking about from this one is from the Times of Israel saying that Netanyahu is skeptical about this deal. Uh, and I think most of this is the same thing that I read in the other article. It says here that Netanyahu is to skip the Board of Peace meeting. Uh, his office said Thursday that he will not fly back to the U.S. next week as initially planned, which means he will not attend the Board of Peace's inaugural meeting on February 19th. He was initially scheduled to land in Washington on the 18th and stay the weekend before speaking at the APAC conference on February 22nd. But a day after invitations to the Board of Peace meeting went out last Friday, Netanyahu's office announced that he would be moving up his trip to Washington to this week. And says while the visit was framed as urgently needed to discuss the ongoing nuclear talks between the U.S. and Iran, the timing led to speculation that Netanyahu was seeking to avoid attending the Board of Peace summit. The U.S. initiative exposes him to criticism due to its internationalization of Israel's conflict with the Palestinians and its granting of a foothold to rival countries Turkey and Qatar in Gaza. That speculation is effectively reinforced by Netanyahu's announcement that he won't be flying back to Washington and will instead be addressing the APAC conference virtually. And it says here Netanyahu's decision may well upset Washington, which is hoping to have a strong turnout of world leaders at the first Board of Peace fundraising meeting. While he will not attend the meeting, Netanyahu on Wednesday officially joined the Board of Peace with a signature during a meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He was unable to attend the signing ceremony in Davos due to the international arrest warrant he faces. So, isn't that lovely?
Yep.
But, and this is William Koenig. He said, and he was at the White House, I guess. And he backed by strength. It builds public legitimacy for negotiation while maintaining deterrence. Whether this represents a genuine diplomatic window or a pre escalation positioning will depend on Iran's response and the internal deliberations between Washington and Jerusalem. And then he says more insight on the Trump Netanyahu meeting. He said this was very unusual. No press availability, no questions to ponder the situation, two chess players not wanting their possible moves telegraphed or analyzed. Iran's negotiators are masterful chess players, so this was needed. And he said, "I'll have more on that later." That's the thing we had been talking about, the fact that Iran is all too happy to continue talking and negotiations. Maybe we'll do this and maybe just to string things along, just to wait out Trump. And